Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to, where are we at? The Porch Light Letters podcast, number 2202. What Loss Leaves. Hang on, is it meant to be leaves behind? Yeah, What Loss Leaves Behind. This is episode 1 of week 16, volume 16, which is light after loss. So this week we're going to be talking about light after loss, and our first episode is What Loss Leaves Behind. There you go. So got that bit out of the way. Now bring the real notes up. So it's been a very long day. Very, very, very long day. Okay, I think that's there. Oh. You know, there are times I absolutely hate my mouse. It is an Apple mouse. Because it goes and changes the shapes of things. When you're moving things around and you have it at the perfect shape and size that you want it, and then you move it so that you can see the notes, and it goes poof, and takes up the whole screen. Yeah, we're in that mode right now. Okay, so very frustrating, I tell you. I think we got it now. Okay, we got it now. All right. So we're talking about what loss leaves behind. So we're still continuing the grief theme. And I kind of want to go through, I want to take you on the journey with me from losing Zeffy 2 weeks ago to how it has impacted, how that grief from losing Zeffy 2 weeks ago has impacted my life, how I am working through it, how I am moving forward, how I am dealing with things that are coming up from when Brad passed and when Gus passed, and other people that have gone in between as well. So it's Zeffy leaving has left a big hole, but one filled with love. And so I wanted to do this grief series last week and then this week into light after loss, so that those going through a similar situation of a lost loved one, a lost pet, they can know that they're not alone, and maybe something I say might help them, and maybe it won't. Some people will agree with it, some people won't. What I'm talking about here is my opinions on what I am experiencing while I'm dealing with the loss of Zeffy. It's still very hard to process. I still have not gone for any walks around the neighborhood. The thought of leaving the house just to walk across the road and around the corner to get my mail terrifies me, because Zeffy would always go on those walks with me. Even to walk down, walk 3 houses down to the park. That is a huge thing for me. It kind of terrifies me. I felt safe when I was walking around with Zeffy. With Zeffy by my side when we go for our walks and stuff, I felt safe. Now I'm sort of like, don't feel safe walking out there, even though I know I am in a safe neighborhood. And there's regular people walking through the park at certain times of the day, and I know I can meet up with them. Right now, I don't want to face them because I don't want to have to explain why I'm walking by myself without my dog. Some of them will turn around and we'll pick it up straight away. I'm not walking with Zeffy. Zeffy's gone. They will pick that up straight away. So if you have any questions about loss, grief, please seek counseling if you feel you need it. If anything I say helps, then I am grateful for that, for being given the words that help you. But tonight we're talking about what loss leaves behind. Loss leaves more than an empty space. It leaves echoes, reminders, and sometimes even unexpected gifts. It can carve out a deeper appreciation for the people and the moments we still have. Tonight we're talking about what remains, the visible and invisible legacies of those we've lost, and how they shape the way we live going forward. It teaches us that loss teaches us that life is finite and our time with others is precious. We're all only on this earth for a certain number of days. You can count the whole days if you want to, or put it into years. Our time on earth is finite, but our love is infinity. It shows us the strength of the bonds we've built, even when those bonds are no longer physical. It can deepen our empathy for others who walk through grief. Loss can inspire us to prioritize what matters most and release what doesn't. It reminds us that love, once given, does not disappear. And going back to the prioritizing what matters most and what we release, when Brad, up until Brad was diagnosed with cancer, I had this fear of needles, thanks to a dentist when I was 16 years old, who I just had a terrible experience with him giving me injections in my gum to pull my teeth. This tooth here, that looks a little out of line. That was the last tooth. That was the last baby tooth I lost at the age of 16. The one right behind it, the molar right behind it, when he was removing the eye tooth to allow the new one to come in because it was coming in on the inside of the teeth, he used the new tooth, which was immediately behind it, which he'd only removed like a couple of months beforehand, to lever. But even just trying to get the injection into my mouth was a horrible experience. It left me with a bad. I just couldn't handle needles after that. And then when I joined the Air Force, one of the things we had to do on the day we got sworn in was they took us over to the hospital. We started at one end of the hospital where they had double doors. They walked us up a ramp into this room, put us on these beds. They then took blood out of both arms. This arm, no problem. This arm, they couldn't find the vein at all. That's swollen. Huh. They couldn't find the vein at all in this arm. They had a hard time. My right arm here became a pincushion, and I got really upset with them. And I said, can't you just take another vial out of the left side? They're like, no, we have to get it from one from the left side, one from the right side. And I'm like, it's all the same blood. Even my mum, who was a nurse, when I told her, I says they needed to take blood from both sides. And she goes, it's all the same blood. I said, I know, but that's what they told me. They had to take it from each side. So then they ended up taking it out of the back of my hand. I can still show you the pinprick can still be seen there. The needle prick can still be seen. So that was a horrible experience with needles. So that just reinforced that horrible experience with needles. So I actually became fearful of needles and would almost pass out when they would go to take blood. So I'd have to lay down to get my blood taken, which was really funny because years later, when we were living in Virginia, Brad and I would go down to the urgent pharmacy, and he was our GP. And I'm not pharmacy, urgent care center, and he was our GP. He was really cool, Dr. A. He was really a really cool doctor, very open-minded to a lot of things. And so they had to go take Brad's blood, and they says, we have a rule in the center here that if you're a male, you have to lay down, but the females can sit up. And I said, why is that? And they said, because the men tend to pass out easier than the females do. I said, not in this situation. I have to lie down. Brad has to sit. Brad can sit up and he won't pass out, get dizzy or anything. I says, I'm the one that you got to worry about. And they didn't quite believe us, but they allowed Brad to sit up and he was fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when it came time to take my blood, I just got up and said, you can stay sitting. I went, nope. I knew myself. I just laid myself down. And even though I had my head turned to the wall, I could feel everything going on over here. And it was freaking me out to the point that I almost passed out. What didn't help one time is I had to go to a lab to get blood taken. And there was this teenage girl in with them getting her blood taken. And she is kicking up she's having a tantrum about having her blood taken. And her mother is out in the waiting room area. And this daughter's going, do you want to see that big hole they're putting in? Oh my God, look at the size of that needle. And meanwhile, the mother is watching my color just disappear. And she tells the daughter to shut up. By the time I got in there, I'm a little pale. They had a little trouble finding veins because when I go pale, my veins disappear. So I haven't had very good experiences, but I will tell you that, and I could not watch people getting jabbed with needles. Couldn't watch it at all. But the moment Brad was diagnosed with cancer, every single IV he had put in, every single needle that he was jabbed with, even when they put his port, put a port in, not the Metaport, but because that was done in the operating room, but they put a PICC line. When they put the PICC line in him, I stood there and watched every single one going in, no fear whatsoever, no threat of passing out. Even when I had my blood taken after Brad's diagnosis, I got a little tiny woozy, but then I was turning away and I was looking away from what they were doing over on my arm. I got a little woozy, but nowhere near close to pass out as I had been. When you have a loss, or you are under the threat of a loss, when you get something, some disease, or you're diagnosed with some disease or something that could end up being terminal, you really do prioritize what matters the most and release everything else. It's actually quite amazing how the mind and the body work and all of that. And like now I'm at the point, like I used to worry about how I dressed when I went out. Not that I was a fashionista or anything else, but I still wanted to look nice when I went out. Now I don't give a crap. I want to be comfortable. I will have some thought about it if I'm going into a business situation, or if I'm going to like a wedding, if I'm going to some function or something, I will put some thought into what I'm wearing. But basically, as long as it's comfortable, I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap what it looks like. It's clothes. I'm comfortable. I love stretchy clothes. I walk around in yoga pants. I've got yoga shorts. I've got yoga capris. I've got yoga full length yoga pants. I have a wide variety of those. I have, I think, one pair of jeans. I think it's one pair of jeans I have that fit okay. They're a little on the big side though, but that's okay. I'm not going to go buy any right now. And I have a couple of pairs of dress pants, but that's basically it. As far as it goes, everything in my closet is stretchy. I think I got rid of everything that was form-fitting or cotton. I don't have anything in my closet that needs to be ironed, I don't think. Pretty sure I don't. But it's being comfortable is what matters. It helps, and it means I don't have to worry about things. I can just get done what I need to do. Priorities do change, and you really do release what doesn't matter anymore. Like, I really don't care. If my hair looks a mess, it's a mess. I'm a sheep that needs shearing. What happens when you acknowledge the pain instead of trying to push it away? Acknowledge your feelings. When the feelings come over you, acknowledge them and be grateful for them. Be grateful for the fact that you are feeling this, because it means that the harder it is for how did I put it the other day for a friend who's going through the more painful the grief is, the deeper the love. Yeah. So acknowledge the pain of grief and be grateful for it. Because when you acknowledge that pain of grief, you know that the love was real. We allow the memories to come even when they stir up tears. Absolutely. Don't push the memories away. Keep them alive. This is what keeps them alive with us, is when we remember. We recognize the lessons the person or the pet left behind in how we live our own lives. Zeffie taught me so much about being in the moment. I got caught up on the phone, on computers, on the laptop, on the iPad so many times, and she would just come up and just put her paw on my leg, which meant get off whatever electronic thing you're on. I want some attention. And she brought me back into the moment. When we would go for walks, I would have my earbuds in, listening to a book as we walked along. What did Zeffie do? She was dragging me all over the place. My arm was constantly out like this, trying to pull her back and rein her in. It finally dawned on me one day. I thought, what happens if I don't put my earbuds in today? Just some idea popped into my head. So I left the earbuds at home, and we went out for a walk, and Zeffie walked either just slightly in front of me or beside me. No pulling me in any direction, no sore shoulders or arms by the time we got back from the walk. She walked beautifully beside me. Unless she saw somebody she knew and she wanted to go say hi. Yes. But she brought me back to being in the moment. How to live in the moment. How to take notice of what's around you. What your surroundings are. Taking note of different noises, different sounds, clouds in the sky. When was the last time you laid down on the ground and just looked up at the sky and either dreamt with the clouds or found the shapes in the clouds? That's what Zeffie brought me back to being in the moment and being one with nature when we go for our walks. I am incredibly grateful for her. She helped me. She helped get me out and about and to live in the moment. And I am forever grateful for that dog. She was such a such a great companion. And then she'd go all crazy and nuts and zoom around and want to play and all of that sort of things. And I was happy to get down there on the floor and play with her, and watch her do her zooms. There was a couple of times she got away from me. And one time actually terrified me. We were in the RV. We were getting ready to start. It was February of 2020, and we were getting ready to leave on our big trip across the US. We're going to go down to the I think we started off on the 8. You started off on the 8, joined it at the 10, and just kept going eastbound. And so we had pulled over. I parked around the back of the shopping center where our mailbox place was, and was going to leave her in the RV because I couldn't take her into the mailbox place. And she managed to slip out, and she was not on her leash. She had her harness on, but she wasn't on her leash. And she just starts running around in circles. Now we're in the back of this parking lot, and there is a main road right there. And her circles get increasingly bigger. And she's just doing these zoomy circles. That's all she's doing. The local sheriff is sitting over in his car watching this. We're in the back parking lot of the building. And I'm just like terrified a car's going to come around and hit her. And I don't remember how I finally did it, but I finally got her back into the RV. And she got a lecture. We do not do that ever again. But what she would do, there was a couple of times she got away with me when we were walking. One time I actually tripped and fell and released her leash, which I was surprised I did that. But anyway, I did that. And she just ran circles around me. And then these 2 kids came over in a golf cart to see if I was okay because they'd seen me fall. Zeffie goes running up to them, and they just grab hold of her leash and hold her till I could get myself up and go over there and get her. And the other time she got away from me was, again, in a campground. And she decided, and normally she would go out of the car straight into the RV, and then she'd stand at the top step while I would offload the stuff in the car. And but this time she decided, I'm not going to go inside. I'm just going to go for a wander. And so she starts a little fast pace, not trotting, but just below trot, more than a walk, but less than a trot. And she just goes trotting off. And of course, she's getting further away because I can't walk that fast. And so she goes down into the street, then she takes a left, and then she goes around to the left again. So she's basically walking around the block, and she stops at one place and pees. And I thought, oh, good, I can catch up with her. And I'm like calling her, and she's ignoring me. And I'm not trying to chase her. I'm keeping her in view. And we get around the other thing, and she stops and poops. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can gain some ground. Nope, she poops really fast and keeps on walking. I'm like, take note of where it is. And I like look around to see what site this is at because I'm going to have to come back and clean it up. And I had her leash in my hand. And so finally she goes up to this lady who's walking her little dog. And so the lady bends down and holds on to Zeffie's harness. It's got a very handy handle on it. And so I walk up, thank her very much for that. And she goes, you do realize your dog pooped? I said, yes. I said, I needed to get her under control on her leash. And I'm going back right now to pick it up. And so I said, but thank you for pointing that out. And thank you for holding on to my dog. And so Zeffie, she was very much a social butterfly. But, she just used to do that. And it was, again, getting lost, caught in the moment. She didn't think about the consequences. She was just living in the moment. We open ourselves to the possibility that joy and sorrow can coexist. Yes, it can. There are things that have been bringing joy into my life since Zeffie passed. And at the same time, wanting to sit down and cry. But that's okay because they can coexist. We choose to carry forward what they taught us intentionally. Like every day I wake up and I always say good morning to Zeffie. I reach out to her bed automatically because it's something I automatically did. Couldn't feel her there, and then suddenly realized, oh yeah, she's not there. And at night I go to reach out to her as I'm going to sleep as well. And of course she's not there. But I wake up in the morning and think of the different things that she has taught me that I want to incorporate into the day. And, like making sure I take time out to live in the moment, just to be. I haven't yet gone out onto the back porch and sat in the chair out there on the back porch. I had to go out in the backyard last night, which is the first time I've done that since Zeffie passed, because I had to, was it last night or the night before? I had to drain the washing machine. And so I ended up with this half a bucket of water that I had to go and dump. And so I walked out into the backyard and dumped it out there. But that was the first time I've been in the backyard since Zeffie had passed. How we carry forward. Keep traditions or rituals that honor their memory. So if you're thinking of a spouse or something, what are some of the things you used to do with your spouse that you want to keep as a ritual to honor their memory? With Brad, it's on his birthday, on the day he passed, on our wedding anniversary, on our proposal day. There's certain movies that I will watch on those days in his honor, because he liked those movies. Share stories about them so their presence stays alive in conversation. Absolutely. And stories are so important to pass along. Use their influence to guide decisions and actions, in your own life. I am constantly asking, what would Zephy think about this? What would Brad think about that? So I'm constantly asking myself those questions when it comes to making decisions. Create something, a work of art, a journal entry, a garden in their honor. I'll have to think about that when I get down to New Zealand. Set something up there, because now it's a little hard when we're getting ready to move. Let their love be a compass for how you treat yourself and others. And with legacy, every life leaves an imprint on people, on places, on the small daily rhythms. When we choose to notice and nurture those imprints, we transform loss into a living legacy. And we have 4 reflection questions for you today that you can put into your reflection journal. This is the original one. If you look in the description I got below, we now have the first 3 journals. Volume 1, which is the stories we tell. Volume 2 is Becoming, and Volume 3 is Rhythm, are now live on Amazon. So you can click on those links down below if you want to get those ones specifically. Don't ask me when 15 is going to get uploaded, because every day I go into upload, they tell me I've reached my limit for the day. I'm like looking at it going, but they will get up there eventually. So your reflection questions. Number 1, what are some of the tangible and intangible things your loss has left behind? Think about that. Number 2, how has this loss influenced the way you approach relationships in daily life? I'm just more relaxed, more open in some cases. Still, I'm very wary of things, though. I'm very wary of things. Number 3, in what ways can you actively carry forward the lessons or love left to you? And number 4, what's one memory that brings both a smile and a tear, and why does it matter to you? Those will get you thinking. And our closing thought for this evening: the ones we love never really leave. They live in our stories, in the choices we make, and in the light we carry forward. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. He konara. Do, 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 do.